We are standing on the shoulders of visionaries who dreamed that we would be where we are today.
Isn't just about dreaming of a better world, it's recognizing where emerging technologies can solve global human challenges.
Cloud would not be here without Linux and open source software. We've changed the world.
We are watching the impact and potential of open source that played out all those years ago, now playing out with AI.
Welcome to Red Hat Summit 2026. Please welcome Red Hat President and Chief Executive Officer, Matt Hicks.
Good morning. Look at this crowd. Every one of you is responsible for something that cannot break, cannot go down, cannot be wrong. Whether it's millions of financial transactions being processed every hour, or healthcare networks that physicians depend on for life-affecting decisions, or the millions of consumers served by telecommunications networks. That's just a normal week for the people in this room. And here's what I think about a lot. The outcomes get all the attention, the deployment measures, the SLAs, the uptime measurements. What doesn't get seen is the craft behind them that makes it possible. The person that designed the architecture from scratch, the person that migrated hundreds of virtual machines invisibly to the business, the person that at 2 a.m. in the morning figures out the cause of an outage that wasn't in the runbook. That takes real expertise, real creativity, and yet most of the world never sees it. I see it, and I think it's important to address that before we talk about anything else today. Now, I have a question for you. Hands up and be honest with me on this one. How many of you are managing an environment today that is more complex than what you were managing 2 years ago? Put your hands up. Okay, now keep your hands up if your budget has grown at the same rate as that complexity. Yeah, there aren't a lot of hands left. Now think about, in addition to this, how many of you are being asked to run an AI initiative while also managing a legacy system that is absolutely critical to your business? So these constraints, these pressures, the new initiative pressure, the organizational friction, the legacy constraints, all happening at once, that is the daily reality for the people in this room. That combination is the villain in the room. Think about your reality. Your virtualization costs are up significantly. Your regulatory environment is expanding beyond your compliance team's ability to keep up. Your board is probably pushing for ROI on AI projects at this point that might not match your enterprise reality. And yet your people, your talented, hardworking people, are being asked to modernize and secure and operate and innovate on these same timelines with the same budget. That gap, that chasm between the complexity of your environment and the resources you have to work with it, and the speed at which your business needs to compete, that is the real story of enterprise IT right now, not just AI. And if we're not talking about that chasm, then we're not talking about your reality. Now, I've actually seen these pressures before that lead to a question at practically every customer that I talk to. What do I build on? Not what vendor, not what cloud, not what model. What is the foundation that lets me compete at the speed that my business needs while not breaking what absolutely cannot be broken in my business? And I've seen this before, twice, actually, both times in ways that fundamentally reshaped the industry. The first time was in the shift from proprietary hardware and proprietary operating systems to open infrastructure. To that question, the what do I build on question, the answer turned out to be Linux. Red Hat brought Linux to the enterprise with Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and RHEL became a standard in practically every industry. Everything that followed was built on Linux. Cloud, IoT, mobile. Think about today. Every AI model, every AI agent runs on Linux. That foundation that we built together is now the reality of what everything we depend on today is running on. Now, the second time this came up was in the shift to cloud native. So containers, Kubernetes, microservices. Now, at Red Hat, we didn't invent Docker. We didn't invent Kubernetes. We brought Kubernetes to the enterprise through OpenShift, and now that is a standard that thousands of customers depend on for their hybrid cloud. We are at the third inflection point right now with AI, and Red Hat will bring AI to the enterprise to make that an open standard. And I think the pattern holds from the last two. The organizations that will have the most success in this environment, they are not necessarily going to be the ones that spend the most or the ones that move the fastest. They will be the ones that build on the right foundation. Virtual machines, containers, AI agents, they are not competing with each other. They are converging. And the answer to this is not going to be one cloud or one vendor or one model. It will be the right platform with a broad ecosystem that supports it. And I'm biased, but I think the organizations that will have the most success will pick a platform with an open foundation below it. Now, speaking of AI, let's take a minute and talk about our AI journey at Red Hat, because we're going through the same inflection point at the same time as all of you. As you know, Red Hat is an open source company. So what we build, we share. That is how open source works. And at this point, we have deployed generative AI to every organization in the company. Each organization is looking for ways to either drive more efficiency for them or create more value for you, customers. For example, you might have heard about or used Ask Red Hat, which is our interactive chatbot. It runs on our customer support portal. Now, this chatbot has been trained on over 2 decades of support information, knowledge base, support capabilities within Red Hat. And this is a case where hopefully this is more value for you when you're operating in the known of support, but it is also more efficient for us and saves us millions of dollars a year. Now, in this journey, we've had plenty of successes. We have also had plenty of failures. And that's easy to do when the technology is changing practically weekly now. But those learnings are going actively back into the platforms that we provide you. Everything you're going to hear about at Summit, that our confidence, our belief that we can be the right foundation for your journey, it's not just a market position, It's what we are actually doing in Red Hat. Now, about a year ago, we moved from the world of chatbots to building AI agents. Specifically, we wanted to build an agentic system that could go through a massive body of internal knowledge and return something genuinely useful. Not a summary, but an actual answer. And we started where many of you probably start, with frontier models, the best, most capable models that we could work with. We wanted to understand what was possible before we decided how to build this right. And it worked. After we had about 10 agents working together, it was clear that this system worked and would continue to work. So we did what was very natural to Red Hat. We started to optimize. We went through layer by layer, figuring out which of these models could be replaced by open weight models running on VLLM on infrastructure we controlled. First, we actually rebuilt the document search capabilities. We found out that small models excel in the correctly formatted documents of finding the right answers. So we moved document search. Next came hallucination detection. Our 10 initial agents has now scaled to almost 200, and you will deal with hallucinations. Small models were an excellent way for us to do that double checking and hold hallucinations at bay. We moved from hallucinations to safety management, to controlling what we would answer and come in. Small models were incredible there. Lastly, we moved to planning, the most complicated step where an agent has to look at all the other agents it could talk to and figure out what questions to ask to get that genuinely useful answer. Layer by layer, we went through the entire application to figure out what we could switch from the frontier models to open source models running on our infrastructure and technology. Today, 85% of the calls running on our deep research agent system call open source, open weight models running on Red Hat infrastructure. And here's what surprised us. Of course, this was more efficient, but our results actually got better. And it wasn't because frontier models weren't the right place to start, but when you own the model and you own the infrastructure, you can optimize in a way that a frontier model that is general purpose could never anticipate. The heart of our system today is running on Nemotron Super, Nemotron Nano, and IBM Granite. This is all running on Red Hat infrastructure, and now we are at an efficiency point, a cost, a unit cost perspective, that we are able to start rolling this out to the entire company. What we built, it's not a demo, this wasn't a pilot, this is fundamentally changing how we operate at Red Hat. And our learnings go directly back into the platforms that we provide for you all. That is how open source works. But beyond the technical proof, beyond having a system that works, the power of hybrid AI, seeing what smaller open weight models can do, here is what we learned about the process, the actual work. And I want to be direct on this. To these software developers in the room, you are not getting replaced by AI, but where you spend your time and energy will drastically change. Figuring out how to build and shape evaluations for these AI-created systems. Figuring out how to build the next generation of continuous integration systems in a world where anyone can contribute. figuring out how to create the next generation testing frameworks that maintain some stability. The humans that build the rails that AI runs on, that is where your craft is going. To the managers in the room, you are about to be tested on your ability to delegate. Now, AI agents, they are going to expand the capabilities and capacity of your team, in some cases drastically. But they're also going to pressure test every process that you have. And in your case, as a manager, they will pressure test your ability to understand the technology, truly understand your processes, and be able to decompose complicated work, to be able to delegate to both humans and agents. Your ability to do this will largely define how well you can lead in this environment. And to every other person, in every role in the company, you now have no barriers to contribute your knowledge into a system like this. At this point, we have had content, knowledge, contributed into our deep research agent from every organization in the company. But beyond knowledge, beyond content, we have had code contributed from every organization in the company. From legal, from inside sales, from operations, from teams that have never written a line of production code in their careers, have been able to positively impact our agentic system. When you couple AI and its ability to amplify what we can do with a well-engineered system, I promise you, it will change what you can build as a company. AI isn't optional at this point, whether it brings you energy or whether it creates real uncertainty. And I think for many of us, it is a combination, a mixture of both. It can't be ignored. But there also isn't a single path. Some of you might be ready to run AI or are in production. Some of you might be just trying to figure out what is hype and what is reality at this point. And some of you might be just trying to get your infrastructure in order to even make this a reality. All of that is legitimate. What I would caution against are the extremes. Either moving so slow that when you start, you can never catch up, or moving so fast that you build on a foundation that you cannot address what comes next. Because I promise you, something will come next in this environment. So here's what I can promise you. Everything you're going to hear about at Summit is what Red Hat is actually doing. It will not be theory, won't be roadmap slides. This will be production experience. I've genuinely never been more excited about the potential of the application of this technology, and also that the timing is perfect for us to figure out this journey together. Let's get to it. Welcome to Red Hat Summit 2026.
Please welcome Red Hat Senior Vice President and Chief Product Officer, Ashesh Badani.
Thank you, Matt. Let me start with something that we've heard from hundreds of customers, perhaps many of you in this room, for the last 12 to 18 months. There is a virtualization cost crisis. But that's only part of the infrastructure challenge that you're facing. The deeper problem is this: your infrastructure layer needs to increasingly do more than you planned for. Needs to support virtual machines for your legacy and mission-critical applications. Needs to support containers, cloud-native applications for the workloads that your developers are building today and for tomorrow. And for AI, as you heard from Matt, needs to support a future where you'll have GPU-intensive, inference-heavy workloads. 3 fundamentally different workload types. Now, most platforms will ask you to independently manage them 3 different ways, with 3 different operational models and 3 different cost structures. We feel that's an unsustainable ask for any team. What if there was one platform with one operational model and one consistent security posture? That is exactly what OpenShift delivers, and it's different from every other platform in the market today. Virtual machines, containers, and AI workloads, all running side by side, managed the same way, operated the same way, secured the same way. Providing that platform, though, just one part of the answer. As you all well know, migrating that virtualization environment, it's not a weekend project. It's complex. Touches hundreds of applications, carries real business risk. We know this because we have done this with some of our largest customers at scale, and so have our partners. We know something else too. The hardest part of that work is not the technology. It's never been the technology. It's the people, the engineers, who have to keep the old environment running at full availability while simultaneously building the new one. All without additional headcount and without missing a single SLA in the process. Now that is a big ask. And it's exactly the kind of ask that gets made without anyone in finance fully understanding what it requires. So we've built migration assessment tooling that gives you complete visibility into your application estate before you move even a single workload. In the last year, we assessed over 1.1 million virtual machines. We've established a phased migration approach that lets you move your own pace, full fallback options at every stage. In the last year, we migrated nearly 400,000 virtual machines. The number of VMs running on OpenShift Virtualization grew by 417% in just the last year. Simply put, clusters running VMs on OpenShift, way up. Customers running VMs on OpenShift, way up. Now, to achieve the scale that you need, we invested deeply in the systems integrator ecosystem that will actually be in the room when this work happens. So, when you think about this holistically, this isn't a migration from one VM platform to another. It's a migration, really, from a virtualization strategy to a modernization strategy. Now, I know what some of you are thinking right now. Why not just go all in with a hyperscaler? Just move it all to the cloud. Fair question. Here are 3 things that hyperscaler native services fundamentally cannot give you. First, consistency. When you build on hyperscaler native services, you'll get a different operational model on every cloud. Different tooling, different security model, different networking primitives. OpenShift gives you one operational model that works the same way everywhere. On your private infrastructure, on AWS, on Azure, on Google Cloud, on the edge, and even in disconnected and regulated environments. Second, independence. When you standardize deeply on a hyperscaler's native services, you trade negotiating leverage for convenience. That's antithetical to the Red Hat business model. It's built on your flexibility, not your lock-in. We started talking about open hybrid cloud 10 years ago. It is foundational to who we are. Third, regulated reality. for many organizations in this room, financial services, healthcare, government, telecommunications, 100% public cloud, is impossible due to legal constraints. Hybrid then is not really a compromise for these industries. It is the only viable strategy. And Red Hat is the only platform that makes hybrid a genuine first-class architecture, not an afterthought. But we don't ask you to take our word for any of this. You can see what industry analysts are saying. But nothing I can say, or an analyst can say, is more credible than hearing it directly from the people who have actually done this work. Motorola Solutions is a perfect example of an enterprise that saw the cost of staying on legacy virtualization is not only a financial burden, but a strategic risk. They saw that villain early and chose a path that prioritizes both resiliency and speed. So now let's hear about Motorola's journey directly from Anudeep Muttavarapu, Senior Director of Core Platforms and Services.
Hey, Ashesh.
Hey, Anudeep. Welcome to Red Hat. Thanks for joining us. Now, your team supports infrastructure for first responders where every second counts. Describe your infrastructure environment that you work in.
Sure, Ashesh. Thanks for having me here. At Motorola Solutions, we build tech that is the backbone for first responders. So we're talking about dispatchers, police officers, firefighters, and emergency medics. And we support them for the full incident life cycle, all the way from when the 911 call lands, to dispatching help, to responding to help, managing cases, and communication throughout the incident life cycle. Every second saved is a second used to save a life. And we use hybrid infrastructure to provide and deploy these applications. Our core workflows, like call handling, dispatch, they stay on-prem. We want to ensure near zero latency and total reliability, even when the internet fails. But we use cloud as a vital redundancy solution, and also as a platform for advanced innovation. We deploy our AI workloads, like transcription, translation, summarization, redaction, into cloud. So essentially, we are providing on-prem stability with cloud scale intelligence. And the key caveat of all of this is that the system must be up. It must be resilient under extreme pressure. We don't just manage servers and code. We provide the certainty that the system works when the citizen calls for help.
Okay, so Anudeep, your team, you're delivering absolutely mission-critical environments and platforms. Now, last year, many leaders, maybe in the room and others listening in, were hit with the virtualization cost crisis. Faced a potential 3x to 5x increase in costs for your legacy footprint. Why did you decide that Red Hat was a good fit for you?
Yeah, I think like many of you, we ran into this crisis, and we looked at various options. Right? And there were options where like, we could just simply swap the hypervisor and live with it. But that's not what we wanted. We turned this like, cost crisis into an opportunity to modernize our entire infrastructure. And moving to OpenShift virtualization allowed us to treat this transition as a natural evolution of our application stack. So just to give you guys some context, we managed two separate worlds. We had a legacy world of virtual machines, and we had containers running in cloud. And as you could imagine, there's a lot of silos, there's different tooling, there's different processes, and the operations were very inefficient. With OpenShift virtualization, we have moved to one Kubernetes-based foundation that can scale across on-prem and cloud, and essentially unify our operations with one hybrid deployment fabric. And the transition was also seamless. We were able to run virtual machines and containers at the same time on our prem, and that allowed our teams to move workloads over a period of time without having to be like a big migration project that never ends. So whether it's the cloud, the data center, the edge. We manage everything using one single lens with the same security tooling, same observability tooling, and same deployment pipelines.
So this hybrid cloud infrastructure, a perfect use case for deploying OpenShift. Can you talk about now adopting the Red Hat platform is benefiting your end users?
Yes. So we work day in, day out with public safety customers. And our customer base is risk averse, right? And for a good reason. They need the stability on-prem so that they can provide response in mission-critical situations, but they also need cloud agility so that they can use these latest technological advancements to respond better. And the hybrid model has really helped us serve that purpose. Today, we provide two unique value propositions to our customers. One, we're able to provide cloud as a redundancy option. So if a call handling system on-prem goes down, they're able to fall back to the cloud. Or they could choose cloud as a primary and fall back to on-prem. That transition is really helping. Two is, like with all the advancements around AI, we're able to run our AI workflows in cloud, but seamlessly integrate them into their workflows on-prem. So think of when a 911 call taker is taking a call, they're able to view live transcripts. An officer in the field is able to use translation on their radios and talk to someone in a different language. We're providing summarization across case management and other things. So essentially, this hybrid infrastructure helped us integrate cloud and on-prem in a seamless manner, and so that the end user doesn't really have to worry about where the workloads are running.
Now, that makes a lot of sense, Anudeep, and the platform is definitely delivering value for end users. In the end, this journey was about more than just a technology swap. Right? It was an operational shift for your organization. So let's look ahead, right, at the next several years. What are the primary lessons that you're taking away from this modernization? How do they inform your vision for the future of Motorola?
Yeah. So I think the first step of modernization of our virtualization layer has really helped us create a strong foundation for our hybrid fabric between on-prem and cloud. And we are able to serve everything from our core public safety systems to advanced AI models. And we are continuing down this journey. Our goal is to reduce the complexity so that our talent are working on mission-critical applications, building better use cases, enabling better response flows without actually having to worrying about infrastructure silos. Hybrid is the end state for us. We want to take advantage of the cloud capabilities while maintaining absolute sovereignty of data and edge operations for our customers. So, Ashesh, in a nutshell, success for us means infrastructure and technology becomes invisible. It should be like oxygen, always there, always reliable, and never something a police officer or a firefighter has to think about. We are not just building a platform. We are building the certainty that the tools will work when they are needed the most in moments that matter.
Thank you, Anudeep. So, moments that matter indeed. Critical work that you and your team are doing. Your team is really proving out that infrastructure modernization is the foundation for everything that will come next. So, you didn't just solve a cost problem, didn't waste that crisis. You built a platform for the next decade of public safety. So thank you again for sharing with us what it looks like to face down strategic risks and win.
Thank you for having me, Ashesh.
Wow. What an amazing story of absolute life-saving, mission-critical work by Anudeep and the Motorola Solutions team. Now, it goes without saying that the world faces uncertainty right now. From geopolitics, to AI, to new regulations impacting digital sovereignty. This conversation about sovereignty used to happen in your legal department, and now it's also happening in your architecture review board. Regulatory requirements shape how your AI models can be trained, what decisions an AI system is allowed to make autonomously, what audit trail you're required to maintain for every AI-generated output. And that regulatory landscape is expanding. I've talked to many of you concerns about the EU AI Act, SEC cyber disclosure obligations, data residency requirements across dozens of jurisdictions that continue to develop, industry-specific regulations, financial services, healthcare, government, all being rewritten to account for AI. For us, the answer is obvious. It always has been. Freedom and choice. Freedom and choice delivered by open source give you control and transparency, which is ultimately what you need underpinning a sovereign architecture. This is the reason that the largest financial institutions in the world, the largest government agencies, the most heavily regulated healthcare systems are choosing open source infrastructure. The digital sovereignty solution that we've built, it builds upon decades of experience, helping our customers, our partners build on-prem, private, and hybrid environments. Any organization, whether it's an enterprise, a cloud service provider, a telco, an AI gigafactory, and now increasingly a neocloud, can use our platforms to build sovereign or private AI-enabled clouds. Our solution spans our entire portfolio: OpenShift, RHEL, Ansible, and Red Hat AI. Today, we announced a number of new capabilities to help our customers and partners meet increasingly strict requirements around data, technology, and operational sovereignty. First, we've enhanced our compliance framework to make it easier to prepare for NIS2, GDPR, DORA, audits, compliance checks, and a whole lot more. We're now also offering a cross-platform installer to build landing zones that immediately enforce specific operational and compliance guardrails. We built a new service fulfillment API that enables you to quickly stand up and provision service offerings on OpenShift. You can start with virtual machines and clusters, add new AI services like GPU or models or inferencing as a service, and as our partners, you can extend this API. We also plan to provide you in-region content delivery in Europe to help you safeguard your software supply chain, improve your operational resilience. You can now download RHEL from within the EU, and we plan to expand the CDN to additional Red Hat products by the end of this year, end of 2026. We've had Red Hat confirmed stateside support in the US for 10 years. Just in April, we launched confirmed sovereign support for the EU, ensuring support is delivered by engineers who are legally authorized to work in the EU and provide support from there. And we'll look to roll this out to other regions in the near future. Help you get started. As in migration for your virtual machines, we also released a Red Hat Sovereignty Readiness Assessment, an open source assessment that gives you a structured way to evaluate your current posture against the critical sovereignty domains. Identify the gaps that you have, the ones that put your business at risk, build out a roadmap to close them. And finally, last week, IBM announced a new solution, IBM Sovereign Core, designed to help organizations build and operate AI-ready sovereign environments and verify their control, giving enterprises and governments an end-to-end approach to digital sovereignty that's built on top of Red Hat's sovereign platforms. Now let's look at how Red Hat is already helping customers with their approach to digital sovereignty by talking about something we all do: flying on a plane. Now, most of us did it this week. Really think about the GPS behind it. If your flight crossed European airspace, it was coordinated by Eurocontrol, the organization responsible for managing safely over 11 million flights a year across the entire continent. Now, that's a big job with a lot of moving pieces, literally. But here's the challenge. Their core IT backbone is 30 years old, and with European air traffic projected to grow beyond 12 million flights annually by 2030, good enough was no longer an option. While it was robust, their infrastructure was a walled garden. It made it nearly impossible to scale to meet the demands of modern aviation or to use modern machine learning and AI to improve decision-making. So they set out. They set out to build a unified, mission-critical digital platform. They didn't just want to move to the cloud, they needed digital sovereignty. As a public and pan-European organization, they have to be mindful of EU policies. They needed the freedom. Choose cloud providers while maintaining full code transparency and auditable control over the infrastructures. And this is where Red Hat comes in. What's really cool here is that they are refactoring 30 years of institutional knowledge into a modern API architecture. And in the process, they are transforming the post-operational data analysis from a 3-day wait into a real-time capability that is already helping identify more fuel-efficient flight routes across Europe. And for the development teams, their engineers are no longer spending their days on maintenance. They're focusing on high-value applications that keep skies safe for all of us. Eurocontrol is a perfect example of how we support our customers as they face digital sovereignty challenges. They're taking a 30-year-old legacy and they're turning it into fast, flexible, and sovereign future. We are incredibly proud to be a part of that journey. Now, we've spoken about the increasing regulatory environment and the need for operational resilience and business continuity. These are all making the case for an architecture that accounts for sovereignty. We're now going to look at how that vision becomes a reality. Please join me in welcoming Raghu Chakravarti, EVP of Engineering and GM Americas for Core 42. Hello, Raghu. Welcome to Red Hat Summit. Thanks for being here with us, and we're looking forward to hearing your thoughts about Core 42. You've been an established sovereign cloud operator for over 5 years. But this landscape has been shifting rapidly. What's the fundamental problem that you're solving for organizations in the UAE's regulated industries? Why is good enough, this is a theme that we've been talking about for a little while now, no longer an option for sovereignty?
First of all, thanks, Ashish, for having me. And thanks for being an incredible partner for us, strategic, in our journey towards sovereign AI. Regulated industries, specifically health, defense, national security, or financial services, face a binary choice right now. Public cloud convenience versus absolute control. Autonomy in technology is key to avoiding the kill switch problem. Good enough platforms compromise sovereignty, and that results in shadow AI or data leakage risks that are operationally and legally unacceptable.
Yeah, well, certainly true, Raghu, about good enough platforms not being necessary. We've got to go higher than that, cross that bar.
Exactly. As a cloud provider and a neocloud, we are trusted base layer for of the G42 intelligence grid and the national digital platforms across UAE. Our platform enables AI applications that citizens, enterprises interact with daily to operate at scale with compliance and with the reliability that critical services require. We are designed for classified, top-secret workloads, extending our sovereign portfolio into the most sensitive areas of government and regulated industry. More than 70 public companies and private organizations have adopted the Core 42 sovereign cloud as of now.
Fantastic. So it's clear that Core 40 is making a lot of progress here. Now, we often talk about partnerships. You mentioned that as well. It's a deep engineering collaboration, and we appreciate that. You were the first in the world to adopt OpenStack 18.1 running on OpenShift for your private cloud. Congratulations to you and the team for doing that. Can you tell us about that decision to build on the stack, how our teams are working together to influence the future of sovereign features?
While data and operational mandates were paramount, we required a platform capable of anchoring our technological sovereignty, which is a very important component, by the way, with equal precision compared to the other requirements. Red Hat, OpenStack, and OpenShift emerged as the premier solution for meeting this critical technological sovereignty requirement. By running OpenStack on OpenShift, we have unified the operational model for VMs, containers, across thousands of servers that we have in production. Also, this is really a co-build. It's all about collaboration. Our monthly cadence calls with the Red Hat engineers allows us to provide direct feedback and also, especially on must-have solutions, and we have really solved about 50% of all of the enhancements that we have escalated so far. By using enterprise-grade OpenStack and OpenShift, we provide the freedom to build and scale our own terms, on our own terms, while avoiding the foreign control or the vendor lock-in that happens. This collaboration turned our platform into a robust, high-redundancy architecture, ensuring we meet hundreds of specific security policies set by the UAE's National Security Council.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And you really are in the business of managing national critical infrastructure, which of course means zero room for error. Why did you choose Red Hat to build this sovereign platform?
It came down to this, right? Red Hat's work on OpenStack has turned it into a genuinely robust foundation for a full spectrum of sovereign cloud deployments, from fully air-gapped solutions to restricted versus connected models that we serve. The breadth, combined with the stability and the maturity of the Red Hat platform, is why we see Red Hat as the premier partner for our sovereign infrastructure. This collaboration reflects how national-scale AI must be built with sovereignty, resilience, and long-term engineered control into its foundation. Our customers, such as large banks and government entities, trust us because we can verify that the diagnostic data, the audit data, stays in the region, and that support is delivered by vetted in-country personnel. This reduces the cost of complexity. We provision GPU resources for AI in minutes rather than weeks. And our National Disaster Recovery Program for the government is already proving its ROI in terms of operational resilience.
So great progress so far, undoubtedly. Let's look ahead. You've described the work in the UAE as a proof of concept for the rest of the world. So as you look to export this sovereignty model to other countries, how do you see the Red Hat partnership evolving to help you scale out?
Yeah, that's a critical point, right? Core 42 is actually exporting the sovereign AI models, operational expertise, and infrastructure frameworks that other nations can build upon. Some examples of this are the AI factory that we own and operate right here in the US, across 5 data centers with over 100 megawatts of AI capacity to serve the largest AI labs, and the Domain partnership that we announced to deploy the largest Europe's AI compute capacity or cluster in Italy. These reflect the deliberate expansion strategy that we have around the globe, and Red Hat is our geo expansion partner. We want to be AWS of the sovereign cloud. Imagine that, AWS for the sovereign cloud. Next decade of AI will separate the organizations that build resilient, durable foundations from those that scale quickly on fragile ones. Whether it's connected, as I said, restricted, or fully air-gapped, we are building the standard global platform. Partnering with Red Hat gives us a common technology platform that lets us modernize digital infrastructure anywhere in the world.
Well, I love that. Thank you for sharing your vision with us. You're obviously proving that at Core 42, you don't have to trade choice for control. You can certainly have both. So thanks again for joining us.
Thank you, Ashesh.
Wow, what a great story. Love the vision, love the ambition of Core 42 and Raghu and team. Now, data sovereignty is the foundation, but AI sovereignty, as you heard from Raghu, is the next evolution of the same challenge. And it is where the stakes are significantly higher. Let me define AI sovereignty precisely, because I think it's a term that's getting used loosely. There are three things you must own to have genuine AI sovereignty in your organization. One, model sovereignty, the ability to choose which AI models run your environment, the ability to change them as the market evolves, and we're all seeing it will evolve dramatically. The ability to run them anywhere based on what your business, your data, your regulators require. Two, data sovereignty, the peace of mind that the data you use to train, fine-tune, and run your AI models never leaves your control, that it stays in the jurisdictions your regulators require, that it's not used to train anyone else's models without your explicit consent, that you know precisely and verifiably where it lives and who has access to it at every moment. Three, outcome sovereignty, the ability to audit every significant AI-generated decision, to explain it, to trace it back to the data and model that produced it, and if necessary, to override it. AI sovereignty isn't a theoretical conversation. Customers are actively addressing this today. Telenor was founded in 1855, and it began its journey as a state-operated telegraph service in Norway. For 170 years, that's right, 170 years, Telenor has stayed at the forefront of every major communication shift. Today, they are one of the most geographically diversified telecommunications groups in the world, serving millions across the Nordics and Asia. Here's a telecom giant that's operating in highly regulated markets. Their challenge is the same villain that many of you face: operationalizing AI at scale while navigating a landscape of regulatory and security constraints. Telenor's customers, the government agencies, healthcare providers, critical infrastructure operators that need AI that respects national borders. They need high-performance infrastructure for model training and inference that remains verifiably secure and under their control. They need sovereign AI. The Telenor story bridges sovereignty and AI. It's a great example of how closely these domains intersect for our customers globally. Telenor did not wait for the market to define its future. They built the Telenor AI Factory. The foundation of that is the Red Hat AI Factory with NVIDIA. You'll hear more about that later in this keynote. This is Norway's first sovereign and secure AI cloud service. They're already hosting multi-tenant customers in Norway. They're hosting Norway's own language models. And they're accelerating industrial automation, voice-to-voice translation, private 5G network optimization, just as some example customer use cases. So having heard all that, Telenor is just not a telco anymore. They're a sovereign AI provider. So if an organization can modernize over 170 years of history, and if an organization can grow from managing telegraphs to being a sovereign AI powerhouse, then every organization in this room, and every one of you listening to us today, has the potential to do the same. Now let me bring on our CTO, Chris Wright, onto the stage, who will go deeper in AI for the rest of the keynote.
Please welcome Red Hat Chief Technology Officer and Senior Vice President of Global Engineering, Chris Wright.
Telegraph to AI. Man, I love Telenor's modernization story. Because they didn't just wait for someone else to define their future. I mean, sitting out on the AI sidelines, while tempting, given all the change, is a totally failed strategy. In my 20 years at Red Hat, I've just never seen any technology move at this pace. If you're overwhelmed by the number of new things happening in AI, I can say with confidence, you're not alone. It feels like there's hundreds of new announcements every month, sometimes daily. But let me show you 3 examples of how I think about the speed of change happening across AI. 3.5 years ago, everybody had that "do you remember where you were" moment when generative AI and ChatGPT went from more of a research concept to something that millions of people were just using immediately. Nobody was prepared for this level of change, the least of which was enterprise IT organizations. Then, 8 months later, Meta responded with an equivalent open weights model for mass adoption. That was Llama 2. 2 years ago came reasoning. Now, reasoning models like OpenAI o1 could now think longer about problems. Reasoning creates this massive explosion in token usage, and it's laid the groundwork for future AI agents. And then, just 5 months later, DeepSeek R1, an equivalent reasoning model, was released under an open source license at a much lower cost to train. Now, we've had Claude Code since February last year, but with the introduction of Opus 4.5, toward the end of last year in November, we saw this emergence of an agentic coding tool. I mean, everybody came back from the holidays with their minds blown about their agentic coding experience. So that combo in late November, just a few months later, 2 months later, OpenClaw became the fastest growing open source project ever. It's like open source agents for everyone. So we had 8 months, we had 5 months, we had 2 months. Every time, Open responds faster than the time before. Now, admittedly, 3 years ago, it wasn't totally clear about the role of open source with AI. That was critical for deep dependencies in data science, but now, with open source inference, with open weights models, with open source harnesses, these are undeniably ready to be the open foundation of AI in the future. So I'd recommend take away 2 things from these examples. The first is this speed and velocity is not going to slow down anytime soon. So you got to make sure you're building flexibility into your AI strategy. And the second, the Wright AI platform, built on open source, will enable you to manage the pace of choice and change that AI is driving today. Now, before we dive into the platform, let's just reflect on the business reality that makes this platform so important. Right now, most enterprise AI runs like this. You call a frontier model API, you pay for the tokens, you send it, and the tokens that it generates for you. It's super easy to start, powerful models, and for some workloads, genuinely just the right answer. But here's the dynamic that's worth watching closely. Per token pricing is coming down 75 to 90% a year. That's the good news. Token consumption, however, is skyrocketing, increasing over 500% a year in some cases. And so with these new reasoning models that are generating even more tokens as they think, consuming 10 to 20 times more tokens than standard models. And with AI agents, you'll have to expect another 5x multiple because an AI agent reasons. It plans. You heard from Matt. It calls tools. It iterates. It loops. It's connected to other agents in a workflow. So to win token economics, you have to move from being just a token consumer to an actual token provider. And we're working with organizations around the world to enable just that. Organizations that own part of their own inference infrastructure, that run self-hosted models optimized for their business and have real choice over which model to use for which job. Those are the organizations that will emerge as the winners. All right, so let's dive into the platform. Now, remember what Matt described earlier, that journey from frontier models to open source models hosted internally, that ran on this platform, Red Hat AI Enterprise. It's the platform that really made it possible. Now, we literally call this metal to agents, a fully integrated stack that spans from the physical machines running AI accelerators all the way up to the agents delivering real business value. Every layer connected, secured, and open. At the foundation, Red Hat AI Enterprise runs on any accelerator and any cloud, giving our customers choice and control over where they deliver AI capabilities for their business. This includes accelerators from NVIDIA, from AMD, Intel, and from the cloud providers, custom silicon, like in AWS, in Google Cloud, in Azure, and whatever comes next across public, private, and edge environments. That's the foundation. Now let's go through the Red Hat Enterprise AI stack that makes the metal to agents possible. It begins at this AI infrastructure layer. Now, this is where the IT operations, SRE, and platform engineering teams live. Today, AI runs on Linux and is scaled with Kubernetes. RHEL provides this Linux foundation, the trusted and reliable operating system that's built with the security needs of both current and future workloads in mind. So we protect the foundation of your AI system. Everything above this really depends on getting this layer right. Red Hat OpenShift is our unified Kubernetes platform for virtual machines, for containers, and for AI workloads. Now, network isolation can control what an agent can reach. And GPU sharing across workloads means your most expensive resources are not locked to a single team, or worse, just sitting idle between inference calls. Next are inference services. This is where your token economics layer lives, where performance, where scalability, efficiency, and cost, this is where it all comes together. Inference is the layer that most directly determines whether your AI strategy succeeds at scale. If you get inference wrong, your customers aren't happy, your data science teams aren't happy, your AI agents aren't happy, and your CFO is definitely not happy. So we deliver world-class inference services through VLLM, the open standard for inference serving. And Red Hat is super proud to be the leading contributor to the VLLM project. Now, VLLM is complemented by LLMD, our open source distributed inference framework. We built LLMD because AI workloads aren't like typical cloud native workloads. Enterprise AI workloads often don't fit on just a single GPU. They're stateful. They fundamentally rely on KV cache. And they vary dramatically from request to request. So LLMD intelligently routes and schedules requests across your environment, optimizing how models execute, how GPU resources are used, and how latency is managed. Remember those token economics I mentioned? In just 1 year, the performance improvements with LLMD are 3 times more output tokens and 10x faster time to first token. Now, there's a great paper that was recently published by Red Hat and Tesla, along with the open source community, that has all the details. Next up, we've got model services. Now, this is where choice is critical, given all the changes happening with frontier models, with open weight models, with domain-specific models, and even small language models. Now, the starting point for many companies is delivering models as a service to their internal application and data science teams. Red Hat AI Enterprise just makes that easy. When your AI teams need to add or remove or swap a model, you do it in just one place. Your teams choose the models they want, token quotas, credentialed access, request priorities, and rate limiting. All of it is delivered through our AI gateway. It's one control plane for every model interaction across your environment. Now, the reality is that companies will use many different models to deliver their AI capabilities that their business needs. And our VLLM team has deep expertise with a wide variety of models. In fact, almost every major new model update is optimized for VLLM right on day 0. So to bring all that innovation and optimization to our customers, the Validated Models by Red Hat program has more than 20 collections of models and nearly 700 variations of models that have all been validated on VLLM and then optimized for speed and efficiency. So this should give you a sense of our commitment when we say that Red Hat AI supports any model. In order to ensure that you can bring your company's data to your models, we've integrated a number of data services to simplify owning your AI experience. Things like retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, and fine-tuning, and most importantly, integrated evaluations. All right, now we're at the top. Agent services. Now, this is where AI will make the biggest impact on differentiating your business into the future. Agents are no longer just an experiment or a clever automation. They are core to every enterprise AI strategy. It won't be unusual in the future to hear that a company has thousands or tens of thousands of agents. So our goal is to make sure you have the AI platform that can manage those agents securely today. In fact, I'm 100% certain that there's some AI agents running somewhere in your organization right now, and they bring with them a series of challenges. The first challenge is the exponential impact that AI agents will have on your inference requirements. Remember, if you don't have control over your inference usage, you don't have control over your token economics. The second is sprawl. Your developers want LangChain, your data science team is building with Crew AI, your marketing director figured out OpenClaw, and hundreds of your employees just downloaded Claude Code or Codex. So if your AI strategy doesn't manage sprawl and give your teams choice, you're going to have frustrated employees. And if your AI agent security strategy doesn't support multiple types of agents, you're going to have more than frustration from your security and compliance teams. So remember, Red Hat AI supports any cloud, any accelerator, any model, and any AI agent. We call this bring your own agents. To enable this level of choice, the AI platform needs to deliver agent ops. Identity matters. Every agent gets a verified, authorized identity. Lifecycle matters. Every agent can be versioned, updated, and rolled back. tool calling matters. So native support for MCP services connects agents to the tools and data that literally define your enterprise. And of course, most importantly, tracing and monitoring matter. Integrated observability enables the platform to track agent interactions. So when you give your teams choice and your IT teams control, this turns bring your own agents into agents as a service that's managed by the AI platform. So to bring it all together, Red Hat delivers the complete enterprise AI stack from the AI accelerators up through the AI agents. It's tightly integrated, it's totally open with our ecosystem partners, with every layer it's connected and it's secured and open. So now let's check out how this goes into action with BNP Paribas. With a footprint in 64 countries and territories and more than 180,000 employees, BNP is a leader in banking and financial services across Europe. Now, AI has been a priority since 2016, and they view it as a strategic asset for developing a new way to bank. Now, most companies talk about AI in terms of saving money or being more efficient. But what about AI leading to value and growth? So far, the bank says it's generated nearly $600 million in additional value from AI. $600 million in additional value from leveraging this strategic asset. Now, their IT organization relies on some 750 AI experts and 3,000 data experts. And today, BNP is architecting the next era of finance by scaling one of Europe's most formidable AI factories powered by Red Hat AI. To fuel 1,000 AI use cases, the bank has unified its predictive and generative AI strategy across a hybrid cloud architecture. And that AI factory is helping BNP industrialize AI use cases and deploy generative AI models at scale. So the AI factory platform leverages GPU computing to operationalize AI capabilities across the bank. And they've transformed GPU provisioning from like this weeks-long bottleneck into just a minute's service. And they've also accelerated their internal LLM as a service platform while upholding the highest standards for digital sovereignty. So BNP Paribas has made tremendous strides in operationalizing AI for its business users. And let's not forget about that $600 million in additional value that I mentioned. That's something that any board would love to hear about these days. So what we're doing today for AI is what we did for all the other pillars of enterprise IT. Think Linux, Kubernetes, and Ansible. And we're doing this in collaboration with our partner ecosystem, including NVIDIA, where we've been heads down, co-engineering a foundation that helps you move past the science project phase and into actual production. So joining me now to talk about how we're accelerating that path is Justin Boitano.
Chris.
All right. It's DJ JB right here. So, Justin, I got to say, our joint work on the Red Hat AI Factory with NVIDIA has been like a highlight for the year. And from my perspective, that's about giving customers this consistent and sovereign foundation across the hybrid cloud so that they can own their own intelligence. But what are you seeing in terms of interest from customers about this integrated approach?
Well, first, it's awesome to be here with you, Chris. And it's great to be back at Red Hat Summit. Look at this audience. This is where
it's fantastic.
Open source is born, right? Red Hat is the company that is synonymous with industrializing open source software for enterprise. And every time we talk to enterprises, they consistently tell us They need a platform to build, deploy, and scale specialized AI agents that understand their business. They can automate critical workflows with them, and they can run them securely across a multi-cloud and hybrid cloud environment. And so this Red Hat AI Factory with NVIDIA optimizations brings us that foundation for every enterprise. It combines Red Hat's open source platform with NVIDIA accelerated runtimes, our open models, our open inference stack, so that customers can industrialize AI agent development and deployment with really the best token and power efficiency.
Yeah, I think that token power efficiency fits right into the token economics we were just talking about. So Red Hat AI's upcoming 3.4 release includes the new governed model as a service experience that's delivered via the Red Hat AI Gateway that gives developers that seamless access to curated models like Nemotron through a standard OpenAI compatible interface. We've already announced GA support for NVIDIA Grace Blackwell and the roadmap to land day zero support for the upcoming Vera Rubin architecture. Now, in the past, software, surprisingly, could lag behind hardware for months, if not even longer. You guys are moving at the speed of light. Why is this tight synchronization between the Red Hat stack and NVIDIA's latest silicon so critical right now?
Yeah, I think your setup of all of this, the only point you may have missed is we are living through the world's biggest, I'll call it, industrial revolution as we build out AI. And when we think of the infrastructure being deployed in AI, it's really what we call a 5-layer cake. There's energy, there's chips, there's the infrastructure, software infrastructure you talked about, models and applications of the agents. And you've got to fully optimize all of that so that you get the best token efficiency to automate work. And really that's the name of the game, is you got to convert power into tokens, and these tokens are going to be the intelligence that powers your business. When we build a new rack scale architecture, like our Grace Blackwell system, we're building a system with 6 processors. We go through a process we call extreme co-design. And in this extreme co-design process, we make sure we squeeze every bit of power efficiency out of that rack. Yeah. But to realize the benefits, you've got to continue to optimize the software infrastructure, the model serving layer, and the agents so that when customers set up these new platforms, they immediately get their biggest business advantage on these newest architectures.
Yeah, you can see the importance. Your extreme co-design at the chip level and that connection with software, super important. Now, we've already talked today about that moving from simple chatbots to like fully autonomous agentic AI. Super exciting, but let's be honest, it definitely brings up some pretty serious security concerns. Now, we're collaborating on the OpenShell project to bring sandboxed, zero-trust environments to these agents. How do you see this OpenShell as a project and kind of the security-first mindset helping enterprises to trust that agents can actually do these long-running tasks and perform real value in potentially regulated environments?
Yeah, and so one of the big advancements, you mentioned the OpenClaw moment, and agents are advancing at this tremendous speed. Yeah. But one of the fundamental innovations of OpenClaw was self-evolving. So it was trying to write software on the fly and reinsert it into the application, which can be absolutely terrifying. And so where we are as an industry is we believe that's a huge productivity gain if you can deploy it in the right way. We think every company is going to deploy agents this year to every employee. And how do I know this, and why am I so confident? Well, we've done this at NVIDIA. Yeah. We gave all 40,000 employees access to their first agent, and now employees want more. But as you start to deploy these agents into every workflow for chip design, software development, supply chain automation, into like how we run the business across the board, agents become core to our work. We want to run them and the intelligence behind them as much as we can on infrastructure that we operate and we control so that we make sure we can control our costs. But you got to do it in a way that you can govern it, and you can govern these agents. So just like we give our employees role-based access control into all the business systems and tools that they use to do their job, we've got to do the same thing with agents. And so first, we built this platform we call OpenShell. It's a secure agent governance layer that provides fine-grained policy controls to govern these agents at scale. And then the second thing we did is we're introducing confidential computing into the Red Hat AI Factory. with NVIDIA together. And we're doing this so that you guys can ask of your frontier model companies to run on infrastructure you own. We're starting to see actually quite a bit of excitement around that as well. So one thing I think from NVIDIA's experience, which is pretty clear, is that no matter what agents people want to use, to your point, whether you're using Claude or Codex, LangChain, building their own agents, we want to have kind of a unified, secure runtime to be able to govern them at scale. And then we see the world being a multi-agent, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud world across every enterprise globally.
Yeah, I love that. Multi-agent, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud. So from my point of view, I've often thought that for AI to really work, organizations need technical independence. They can't be locked into just a single black box. So think about that, how our work on these open source runtimes, on that consistent infrastructure, how does that help a CTO feel confident that they're not just renting their future, but actually building a sustainable, independent AI strategy?
Yeah, and I'll say, Chris, I couldn't agree more. A lot of this comes down to, like, you have to control your destiny in this transition. And so having choice on where you run the agents, how you control the context, which is all the information about your business going to these agents, is absolutely critical. And our collaboration being built on openness is a key part of this. So by combining really Red Hat's leadership in open source software with open models from NVIDIA, open data sets that we provide the industry so people can post-train these models, open post-training techniques, open agent optimization techniques, and open shell is the runtime. Customers have the choice; they can run anywhere they want. With really commercial support offered together between Red Hat and NVIDIA, we believe we're now giving enterprises really the keys to owning their ultimate outcome with agents.
Yeah, I love that. Giving the agency to our customers and keys to owning their own AI strategy. I mean, you can see there's a ton going on, and clearly a lot more work to do. This co-engineering has been really exciting, and we're doing tons of great work and engaging directly with customers. But for now, Justin, I got to say, just thanks for being here.
Thanks,
awesome.
Chris. It's been awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, Verizon is the perfect customer story to close the morning, because this US telecommunications giant has operationalized so much of what we've been talking about today, from virtualization to scaling AI. They're proving that a unified, open platform is the only way to modernize a footprint as big as theirs while staying scrappy and reliable. So please join me in welcoming Praveen Atreya to the stage. All right.
How you doing, Chris?
Praveen, I love your CEO has been like super vocal about this. Verizon becoming a scrappier competitor through radical customer simplification. So now, from an engineering standpoint, when you're managing this massive scale network like yours, how does moving to a unified platform actually deliver that simplicity while maintaining the urgency needed to stay ahead in this competitive market?
Chris, thank you for having me here. Good morning, everyone. Great to see you all. At Verizon, we've embraced that in order to thrive in a hyper-competitive market such as ours, you need radical customer centrism. And that requires simplicity, speed, and efficiency. What that demands from a network is a software-centric network model, essentially a network that moves at the speed of software. And the key enabler for that is a powerful and a performant private cloud platform, not just at the core in the data centers, but also in the edge, the far edge of the network as well. And this is what offers control, security, observability, and a host of common capability that essentially enables every network element to now become an app, an application. And what this does is that it allows us to fully embrace the software and the cloud operating model.
This is what drives continuous improvement through seamless upgradability, self-healing, and continuous self-optimization, which in turn delivers more value, more delight to our customers over time.
I love that. Network, software, just an application. You make it sound so easy. The Verizon cloud platform has been on like a 10-year journey, and while 5G is cloud native, virtualization is still totally a part of your reality. So I know you've been working on consolidating legacy environments all along the way. What's the strategic value for Verizon in having a single platform that manages your containers and your virtual machines rather than separating them into two separate worlds?
Thank you, Chris, for the mention on the Verizon Cloud Platform, or VCP, as we call it internally. It's a 10-year anniversary. You've been a strong partner throughout the journey from day zero. Thank you for that. To answer your question, when you run a network and a business at the scale of Verizon, and I'll throw out a couple of stats, we have nearly 150 million retail wireless connections. That's just mobile. In addition, we also have nearly 17 mil broadband connections. I could go on and on with the vanity stats, but I won't. But a natural consequence of this scale is that you also end up with a heterogeneous and a multi-generation technology and an application landscape. You're simultaneously running modern, highly decomposed microservices alongside legacy monolithic applications on VMs. And this is where having a single hybrid platform that handles all of this seamless transition of workloads, enabling various heritages of applications to work closely together, it makes a big difference. It makes a big difference towards simplicity and efficiency, and again, ultimately enables us to be better for our customers.
Yeah, I'm picturing heirloom applications. You know, we got some interesting legacy there.
Yep.
Now, we've been talking about AI this morning, and it's definitely moving from that buzzword to a core operational tool for enterprises. And I know you've described a goal of building autonomous networks. I mean, basically like a self-driving network. So how is this kind of co-developed platform that we're creating with OpenShift AI helping you bridge the gap between just collecting data and actually automating the network in real time to minimize any customer disruption?
Yeah, this is a great one. The data to insight to recommendation to action loop has been core and happens repeatedly in the context of network automation today. In fact, not just for planned changes like lifecycle management and upgrades, for unplanned rainy day fault remediation and for performance improvements, we have made millions of changes in 2025 alone in closed loop mode, no human in the loop. And this is fascinating in its own right. Well, why this is true, where we're going is 10x. With AI, everyone is a developer. And with agentic AI, your best folks can be amplified and scaled almost limitlessly. And so what we can do in the context of agentic AI with network automation is far beyond what we can do with structured automation. For example, a network operator could detect network experience degradations for each individual customer rather than aggregate alarms that smooth out individual customer-related data points. And then you can drive complex triage loops for each incident with the reasoning capabilities these agents offer, which can then autonomously drive recommendations that lead to actions that resolve these customer issues in near real time before they ask for help. And while that is super powerful, that's just one of the scenarios that AI in-network, enabled through AI runtimes such as OpenShift AI, and of course, the hyper-evolving models of today can help in terms of building, planning, running the network.
That certainly demonstrates radical customer centricity, like a personalized network just for me. I appreciate that. How about just given the work that we've done, what are your experiences in realizing just benefits from this whole modernization journey that you've been on?
Yeah, there are many. You can say this better than I can in many ways. But I will say, let me name a three or a couple. First of all, we've moved on from the state of forced hardware upgrade cycles. We have a complex network with multiple vendors, and we used to have situations such as, hey, if you want that feature, you need a new box in order to support that. We don't have that anymore. We're elastic. We can add hardware horizontally. In addition, the modularity of software is another key benefit. This enables us now to replace components such as replacing a stochastic algorithm for channel state estimation with a AI deep neural network algo that does the same job, but much better. All of this is now possible fairly seamlessly. And last but not the least, the scale and maturity of our virtual radio access network is something that makes a real difference for our customers. We are now able to deliver new capability at an unprecedented pace nationwide, alongside having the resilience that the most reliable network demands. So,
yeah, that's cool. Stochastic Petri nets, you're bringing me back in time.
DSP.
I have to say,
yeah.
I've had the good fortune of being on this journey for those 10 years. But I wanted to say, Praveen, thank you so much for coming here and sharing that journey with all of us, with everyone here. So thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. You guys have been instrumental, and looking forward to the next 10.
All right.
All right, take care. Have a great session, folks. See ya.
All right, here is what I want you to take away from everything that you've just seen. Most enterprise AI platforms ask you to make a choice. You can have the power of frontier models, or you can have control, governance, security, cost visibility, data sovereignty. Red Hat AI doesn't force you to make that choice. Models as a service gives your teams the model access they need. Any model governed and guardrailed at a cost your finance team can understand. And then agents as a service gives your organization the full power of agentic AI with the security posture your IT team can actually defend. AI applications built on your data give you capabilities that your competitors simply cannot replicate. Because they don't have your data, they don't have your domain knowledge, they don't have your fine-tuned models, and all of this runs on the same distributed infrastructure, the same security layer, governance controls, and token economics model. This is what matters when the AI market moves again. The enterprises we work with are already prepared for what's next because they own the platform that it runs on. Red Hat AI is the enterprise AI strategy that compounds in your favor. Now, heroes know that each new day brings new challenges. Some days, you're refusing to let legacy black boxes define your future. Other days, you might be taking on the tough but necessary work of building the foundations that allow your teams to scale. And on others, you're focused on the reality of AI work, ensuring that your organization can run on any model, on any accelerator, in any cloud, and any agent without sacrificing your digital sovereignty. So have a great rest of your day at the product spotlights and at the breakout sessions, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow morning for product announcements, for customer stories, and some cool technology demos. Thank you.